Somewhere in the middle of a 5-year syndication hold, your GP might call you with news that sounds good on the surface: we're going to refinance the asset. Sometimes it is good news. Sometimes it's complicated news dressed up as good news. In this video I'm going to explain exactly what a mid-hold refinance means for you as a passive investor, what changes about your returns, your timeline, and your risk, and the 5 questions you should ask before you sign the consent. Most LP agreements give the GP the authority to refinance without requiring LP consent, or with only a majority consent threshold. That means this decision can happen with limited input from you. Understanding what it means before it happens is the best way to protect yourself. The refinance decision is not inherently good or bad. The same action, pulling equity out of an appreciated asset, can accelerate your returns in one scenario and mask a problem in another. Your job as a passive investor is to understand which scenario you're in. Let me start with why GPs refinance mid-hold. There are 4 main reasons. Reason 1, the asset appreciated ahead of plan. Value-add work is complete, the asset is performing well, and the appraised value is significantly higher than the purchase price. A refi lets the GP pull out a portion of the equity, distributing capital back to LPs, while retaining the asset for continued cash flow and appreciation. This is the best-case scenario. Reason 2, interest rates have fallen. If the deal was closed at a higher rate environment and rates have dropped, a refi can lower the debt cost, improve cash-on-cash returns, and extend the hold profitably. Reason 3, capital recycling. The GP wants to redeploy equity into a new acquisition while retaining a performing asset. LPs get some capital returned, the GP keeps the deal. Reason 4, buying time on underperformance. The deal isn't where it needs to be for a sale at projected returns. A refi extends the hold and gives the GP more time to improve the asset, or to defer a sale that would show disappointing results. Reasons 1 through 3 can legitimately benefit LPs, reason 4 is worth scrutinizing carefully. Now let me show you how a refi actually changes your return profile. Take a standard 5-year hold without a refinance. You invest $100,000. 8% preferred return accrues annually. At sale in year 5, you receive your original capital back, $40,000 in accrued preferred return, and your equity share above the waterfall. Total proceeds, roughly $175,000. About a 1.75 times equity multiple. Now take the same deal with a cash-out refinance in year 3. The GP refinances, pulls out equity, and distributes $50,000 to LPs in year 3. You get half your capital back early. The remaining investment stays in the deal for 2 more years. At final sale in year 5, you receive the remaining $50,000 plus whatever appreciation accrued above the waterfall. On the surface, early capital return sounds great. But here's the nuance, that $50,000 returned in year 3 is no longer earning the 8% preferred return for years 4 and 5. Your accrued preferred return on the remaining capital is lower. And the GP typically resets the preferred return clock on the recapitalized basis, not the original equity. Depending on how the operating agreement handles the refi, this can result in lower total LP returns than a clean hold to sale, even if the headline looks attractive. There's also the question of new debt terms. The refi introduces a new loan, potentially at a different rate, with different terms and covenants. If the deal was financed at a fixed rate and the refi moves to floating, you've introduced rate risk. If the new loan has more restrictive covenants, that can affect distributions. A refi is not just a capital event. It's also a debt restructuring. Understand both. Here are the 5 questions you should ask your GP before you sign any consent to a refinance. Question 1. What is the appraised value versus the purchase price, and what is the refi LTV? This tells you how much equity has been created and how much leverage is being taken on. A refi that pushes LTV above 75% on a stabilized multifamily property carries more risk than one that leaves the asset at 60% LTV. Question 2. how does this change my projected total return? Not the headline distribution amount, the total return, including the projected exit distribution assuming the original return assumptions are adjusted for the new capital structure. Ask for an updated waterfall model. Question 3. What are the new loan terms, rate, term, prepayment penalty, floating versus fixed? This is the debt you're now exposed to. You need to understand it. Question 4. What is the plan for the capital that stays in the deal? If LPs are getting 50% of their capital back, the remaining 50% is still at work. What's the business plan for the next phase of the hold? Is this a stabilized asset where the plan is just to hold and distribute? Or is there more value-add work planned? Question 5. What happens to the preferred return on remaining capital? How does the operating agreement handle the preferred return calculation after the refi? Ask for the specific language from the OA and have someone explain it to you if needed. These questions are not adversarial. A good GP should be able to answer all of them clearly before asking for your consent. Now let me tell you when a mid-hold refi is genuinely good for LPs. The clearest case, the asset has materially appreciated, the new loan comes in at a favorable rate or equivalent to the original, the LTV stays conservative, and the GP distributes equity to LPs without significantly changing the preferred return structure. In this scenario, LPs get capital returned early, capital they can redeploy into a new investment, while still participating in future appreciation from the asset. If the property continues to perform, the equity multiple over the full investment period can actually improve. The second case where refis benefit LPs, when the original loan has an approaching maturity date and the refi secures better terms or extends the timeline without requiring additional LP capital. In both cases, the GP should be proactive, specific, and willing to walk you through the math. Let me give you a practical checklist. When you receive a refinance notice from your GP. 1. Request the new appraisal and the updated pro forma. Don't accept verbal summaries. 2. Read the consent document carefully before you sign. If anything is unclear, ask before you sign. 3. Ask the 5 questions I laid out. Document the answers. 4. Model the impact on your projected returns. Even a rough calculation tells you whether the refi is likely to help or hurt your total return. 5. If you have concerns, express them in writing before signing. Your consent is valuable leverage for getting information. Here's the summary. A mid-hold refinance is a significant decision that can change your returns, your timeline, and your risk profile. It can be good news or complicated news, and you can't tell which without asking the right questions. Why GPs refinance, appreciation, rate improvement, capital recycling, or buying time on underperformance? The first 3 can benefit LPs. The fourth warrants scrutiny. How it changes your returns. Early capital return sounds good, but it can reduce accrued preferred return and change the waterfall. Understand the math. 5 questions to ask: appraised value and LTV, updated return projection, new debt terms, plan for remaining capital, and preferred return treatment post-refi. The LP due diligence checklist, including a full section on what to ask during a refi, is linked in the description. Free download. Subscribe if this was useful. Next video looks at GP fee structures, what's standard, what's excessive, and how to read the waterfall before you invest. Thanks.